This is Season 7, Episode 138 of the Stevens Transport Roadside Radio Podcast.
Sometimes the important thing is not the number of miles you've driven, but what's going on inside your head while driving. The Stevens Transport Roadside Radio Podcast will stimulate your mind and keep you company while on the road. Join us for education, motivation, and inspiration from wherever you may be in our nation. You'll hear roundtable discussions about important information that's impacting our industry. Plus, you'll learn more about new technology, equipment, driving opportunities, safety, and operations. Get driver success and fitness tips to keep you profitable, safe, healthy, as well as entertaining stories from the road. And don't you know, we've all got a few of those. We might be traveling in different directions, but we're all part of one driver community at the Stevens Transport Roadside Radio Podcast. With your host, trucker Tim Cicerelli.
Welcome once again to the Stevens Transport Roadside Radio Podcast. Hey, it's your old friend Tim Cicerelli here, otherwise known as Trucker Tim. Thank you so much for letting me sit shotgun with you today. On the way here in episode 138, we're going to visit with an old friend of the show, someone who appeared, I believe, in like episode 2 or 3, so many moons ago. Her name is Nikita Matthews, but you know her as Pinky. For those that don't know Pinky, you might have seen her on the yard. Instead of driving one of those big, beautiful black Stevens trucks, hers is, of course, pink. Why is it pink? Not just because of her hair color. She's going to explain why coming up a little bit later in our driver's spotlight. If you're a current driver of Stevens Transport, or if you're thinking about becoming a driver for Stevens Transport, we're going to give you some information on how you can become a team driver for Stevens Transport. We're going to tip that big 10-gallon Stevens cap, not just to someone who recently earned a promotion to operations manager of Comfort Zone, but we're going to tip our cap to ourselves as well, as you might find some new hardware there in the hallways at Stevens. We'll give you the lowdown on what's happening at Stevens Transport with our monthly news bulletin, but we're going to kick this episode off with a gentleman who has some strategies behind building a successful career at Stevens Transport, first as a driver and then on the corporate side. Let's kick off this episode with our Senior Driver Manager Operations Lead, Mr. Micah Daniels, on our Stevens Roundtable. Ready for some wisdom to be dropped down on you right now? Well, we've got a gentleman here that's going to do just that. And the reason I say that is because I've had the great opportunity to speak to our next guest several times here on the podcast over the last few years. I believe he's celebrating, your 5th year here pretty soon? Is that correct? Or 6? What are we talking?
Going into 6.
Going into 6. That voice belongs to Micah Daniels. I know him as a DMOL, but I think there's been a promotion or something because you are now the senior DMOL I have on my list here. What's the deal with that there, Micah?
Well, there was an opportunity and there was a need that needed to be filled. And ultimately, that's what we're here to do. Meet the needs of the company. Meet the needs of the company.
Our senior DMOL, Micah Daniels. Listen, before we go any further, you went home with some hardware for 2024, didn't you?
Correct.
You see, he's very humble, folks. It's very tough to get him to do a humble brag, but we're going to try. Honorable mention, is that what you got for 2024 Employees of the Year?
Yes, sir.
And you knew that was coming, didn't you?
I wouldn't say I knew it was coming. I was rather surprised, but based on the people that I have working around me, it was a foregone conclusion that somebody on our team would get something. We've got a great team down here.
Well, see, that is already passing the buck on and giving everybody else credit, as a good leader does, of course. So let's go back to that day that you received that award. What's it like to be out there with your colleagues and to hear your name announced?
Shocking. As you have alluded to, I'm a pretty private person. It takes a little bit for me to open up. I actually wasn't certain I would be able to make it to the event. My car actually broke down, but one of my co-managers made it a point to bring me there. I wasn't really sure why he and our supervisor, Miss Lauren, was like, "Hey, you really need to be there tonight." But that
it's like a surprise birthday party. You know it's coming, right? Something.
They did. I'm really
You were a little oblivious, huh?
absolutely.
So you're sitting out there and they go into honorable mentions. This is a rather large company. It's a big, small company or a small, big company, right? And it's family owned. And so the family is up there. And to be recognized with a company of this size, over 40 years in business, that had to feel pretty good that your impact is not only being noticed, but recognized.
Absolutely. Sometimes as you're doing the work that is required in the day, you don't really get to take the time to appreciate what you're putting down on paper. And you sometimes feel small, but for them to see what we're all doing and then to be able to recognize several of us and for them to be so involved, that's something that definitely humbles you and you have to appreciate.
And so you mentioned earlier that you were coming up on your 6th anniversary. You're a driver manager operations lead, but you were a driver once before.
Absolutely.
Always with Stevens, or did you drive for somebody else first?
Always with Stevens.
Yeah. What is it that led you to Stevens in the first place, back to when you were behind the wheel?
Well, ultimately, at the time that I applied to Stevens, I was working as a correctional officer. And my second son had just been born, which means I was 3 kids in.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, this CO money is not necessarily what I need it to be to sustain a family of 4, including myself. So that would make us 5.
Yeah.
And I saw trucks going down the highway with, you can make up to this, make up to that. And so
that amount of money is what you're saying. You can make up to this amount of money.
Correct. So I started making some calls, doing some research, and Stevens has always had an impeccable reputation for training.
Yeah.
So I called them. Their recruiters spent a lot of time with me and my wife on the phone, explaining what the finances would look like, what time off would look like.
I love that you included your wife in that conversation as well, Micah. And we talked earlier about you dropping some wisdom. Listen, for you young men or women out there, you involve your spouses, because this is a family decision, isn't it?
Absolutely. You can't make any decision, whether you are the man or the woman in a relationship, without including your partner. Otherwise, it's not a relationship.
You got it. I told you some wisdom would be dropped on you. All right. Well, carry on. So your wife is with you at the time.
Right. We discuss it. The recruiter at the time was Miss Brittany. And she was able to set us up. I took a trip to Columbus, Georgia, GDA, where I got my CDL. We one and done it. I was nervous the whole time, but we got it done. Mr. Randy and his team, he's got a phenomenal group out there. And then I greyhounded to Dallas. And I was expecting a super huge corporate building. I'd never really been to a major city outside of Atlanta, being from Scriven County, Georgia.
Oh, you must be a Georgia Bulldog fan then, I guess, Micah.
Absolutely. You gotta love the Bulldogs.
Yes, sir.
What other teams are there in Georgia?
Well, they're not the national champions this year, but we'll be back next year, so we hope.
Absolutely.
That's a whole other story.
Even if we never make it back, we got enough hardware.
Well, yeah, we do, but we want some more. But we digress. So you greyhounded up here. And the building, you said, so this is a rather large building. You weren't impressed, Micah? You came up, you're like, what's that little shack over there off Military Parkway?
Not a shack, so to speak, but I was like, this isn't quite what I was expecting. And then as you walk in, the first things that you kind of see are all the awards in that glass pavilion downstairs.
Talking about hardware, there's a bunch of it here at Stevens.
Absolutely. And I instantly knew that's something I wanted to be part of.
Yeah.
And as that journey progressed, I joined a grad fleet. Jonathan Martinez was my driver manager. Matt Witt was my DMOL. And I got a call from independent contractor recruiting. It was Will Bird. And he explained that this is something that I could do, that I could create my own business.
Yeah.
And so from the gate, he was providing me not only with opportunity to enhance what I was currently making, but with a long-term career path. And I think anybody who's joining a company wants to know that they have forward progression. So I asked Will, and I'll never forget this. I said, well, maybe I want to take some time. And Will was like, okay, well, it's not for you then. And the way my mentality is set up, if you challenge me, I'm going to exceed what your expectations.
He pushed that button, didn't he?
He damn sure pushed the button. So I called back to GDA. Those guys were phenomenal. They're like, hey, Micah, track your miles for about a month. And if you're averaging 2,500 plus miles a month, then you could be really successful as an independent contractor.
It's good to have those benchmarks, isn't it? And to know what to go for.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I got on Purdue, and that was the mile set that I was hitting, if not exceeding. And so I came in for onboarding classes, and I was an independent contractor from there. And I did that for roughly a year and some change. And then my wife was like, hey, I know what the expectation was when you got on the truck, but the reality has shifted.
Yeah. With the kids and everything else,
kids
and be around. Sure.
All of that. Most people don't really realize what it's like to be in that truck for a month at a time just to get 5 days at home. I've told several people, when you get in the truck, your life goes on pause, but your family's continues.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of adjustments that need to be made when you go back home for the first time or after the first couple months on the road. You got to figure out, okay, where do you fit in that family dynamic? How can you still be yourself, but also meet the needs of how your family has adjusted? So that was something that we had to overcome. And
not to discourage people from wanting to become drivers, because that actually fits someone else's lifestyle.
Absolutely.
Even if they have a family and kids at home, there's a myriad of ways that can work. And there are ways where that lifestyle didn't.
Correct.
So what I'm excited about, what I think you're about to say is, okay, that might not have been the long-term path for your family.
Right.
There were opportunities here at Stevens, weren't there?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's actually a really interesting story. I called my driver manager at the time, James Acuna, and I let him know what was going on. And he said, well, have you reached out to the business advisors? That's what they were called at the time. I said, no, I haven't filled them in. So I got on the phone with Anissa, who is still here at Stevens. And she said, hey, I'm going to have you talk to a young lady named Miss Allison. Allison called me. She told me to send her my resume. She edited it for me twice without asking for anything. She said, all I need you to do is pick the colors. I'll give you a pink one and a blue one. I went with the blue one, obviously.
Obviously, he said.
Right? And she sent it over to Miss Molly, and they set up 3 interviews with me through Zoom. I had one with Kip. I had one with Archie. And then I was supposed to have one with Miss Angela, and they brought me back to the yard, and they let me know when I got here. I'm dressed up in my suit. Hey, Micah, you've been nothing but a professional this whole time you've been with Stevens. Miss Angela has heard about you. There's no need for that 3rd interview. When can you move from Georgia to Texas to start?
Awesome. Just awesome. And, I think I'm now probably saying this almost every interview, so I apologize to our audience if I'm sounding like a broken record, but this podcast is listed under the jobs and careers category when people are searching for podcasts to listen to. So this podcast is not just for Stevens employees and drivers to, learn about what's going on at Stevens Transport and keep their finger on the pulse of all the departments here, but for those that are looking for places to work. And I think the lesson we're getting from you is, at least that I'm picking up, is you have responsibilities. Stevens provided you a chance to meet those responsibilities with one path, and that worked out really well until the path had to change.
Correct.
And they have several other paths to keep you with the company if you're integral and you work hard, and that is you. And here we are approaching 6 years. So the lesson to our audience, if you are one of those people that found this podcast looking for a job, looking for a career, investigating companies, seeing if this is for you or not, which makes this podcast such a valuable resource, you, Micah, just provided them with a wonderful example of how to do it. Again, Micah, always love having you on the show. Is there anything else that you'd like to add to our friends on the other side of the speakers that are looking for a place to work or just want to get to know you a little bit better because they already work with you and they're listening to the podcast?
Absolutely. Hindsight being 2020, after being at Stevens for 5 years, getting ready to go on 6, I will say my decision to come here is the best decision that I have ever made in my life as it relates to supporting my family, seeing career opportunity and stability. Stevens provided something that I did not think existed, and I will eternally be grateful for the opportunity. And anybody who's looking for something, if you're looking for a place that will provide you with avenues to grow, learn, and advance yourself, this is the place to be.
Micah Daniels, Senior DMOL, honorable mention for Employee of the Year here at Stevens Transport. And I would venture to guess that someday the honorable mention will be left in the dust. Congratulations on the new hardware in your house. And thanks for spending some time with us here on the podcast.
Thank you guys for having me.
Always great to visit with Mr. Micah here on the Stevens Transport Roadside Radio podcast. And Micah's not the only one that has some new hardware to polish. Stevens Transport enjoyed a double honor from Kraft Heinz. Stevens Transport is beyond proud to announce that we have been recognized from Kraft Heinz as the A 2024 High Volume Transportation Carrier of the Year and be 2024 Dedicated Transportation Carrier of the Year. So how about that? These incredible achievements reflect the hard work, the dedication, and the commitment to excellence in logistics and transportation. A huge thank you to the Kraft Dedicated Driving Fleet and Operations team, plus our friends at Paragon Leasing, with invaluable support and teamwork making this double honor possible. We at Stevens Transport are honored to serve Kraft Heinz and looking forward to contributing our legacy of best-in-class services. So much to celebrate. We're going to continue to tip that big 10-gallon cap in appreciation to someone who is enjoying a well-earned promotion to Operations Manager of Comfort Zone. That's coming up, as well as our monthly news bulletin to keep you informed as to what's happening at Stevens Transport. And we're going to play some audio from a video you can find on our Stevens Transport YouTube channel. That video is one of our most recent driver spotlights, and that's coming up next on the Stevens Transport Roadside Radio Podcast.
Ever wondered what it's like to drive across the country and get paid to see America's breathtaking landscapes? Welcome to life as a team driver with Stevens Transport. The life of a trucker can sometimes feel solitary, but with team driving, you're never alone. Let's dive into how teaming up with another driver can transform your trucking career. So what exactly is team driving? Simply put, it's when two drivers share the responsibilities of operating the same truck. This allows for continuous travel and efficient delivery. Federal regulations require solo drivers to be off-duty for at least 10 consecutive hours after 11 hours of driving. Team driving, however, maximizes productivity by alternating driving shifts, cutting down on overall trip times. By working in shifts, team drivers can cover over 5,500 miles a week. That's more than double what solo drivers can achieve, leading to more priority loads and higher earnings. Efficiency is key. With two drivers, tasks like loading and unloading become quicker and easier. Plus, you'll earn more per mile. One of the greatest perks? You get to choose your driving partner, whether it's a close friend or a new acquaintance. Having a partner on the road makes those long hauls more enjoyable. And what about rest? Team drivers sleep in comfy bunk beds while the truck is moving, allowing for nearly non-stop travel without sacrificing sleep. Safety is another major advantage. With two drivers, there's an added layer of oversight to ensure committed safety. So, if you're ready to take your trucking career to the next level, consider team driving. Your journey starts here. It's the perfect blend of companionship, efficiency, and increased earnings. Explore the benefits of team driving and start your adventure today with Stevens Transport. Apply now and join a team that drives you to success. Your journey starts here.
Now more than ever, truck drivers are true American heroes. The men and women who literally keep America moving by delivering goods across the country. Being a professional driver is a rewarding, financially lucrative, long-term career filled with exciting adventures. A career where you'll never have to worry about job security. If you have your CDL and keep it up, it will sustain you for the long haul. You can see the country, serve your country, and provide a good life for your family. Whether you'd rather haul on a dedicated route or lane, or prefer working with one specific customer, if you want to own your business, we have a program that sets you up for success with all the tools and support you need. We've got opportunities in our intermodal rail division, and have programs to help military veterans transition into trucking careers. We have second generations of drivers whose parents have driven for Stevens, who then trained their children and are now truck drivers. Some are even small fleet owners. So, whatever your dream is, you can achieve it right here at Stevens. If you're looking for a company with a 40-plus year track record that's never had a layoff, and just had the largest pay increase in company history for both new and experienced drivers, Stevens Transport has you covered. We offer the finest tools and technology and provide our drivers with the best state-of-the-art equipment on the market. Our infrastructure will support you both on and off the road. As a driver for Stevens, you become part of our family. Many companies throw the word family around. We're family-owned, family-run, and family-driven. Our 40-plus years of success is built on family. At Stevens, you're not just a number. Our drivers are part of our extended family, and we recognize and honor them every chance we get. If you want to be among the top income earners among professional drivers, if you want great benefits, if you want to have every type of driving opportunity at your fingertips, if you want to be part of a company that will stand behind you and ensure your success, come join the Stevens Transport family today and become an American hero. So, what are you waiting for? Take the first step toward your future career with the best trucking company in America. Become part of the Stevens Transport family today by calling our recruiting department at 1-800-333-8595 or apply online at stevenstransport.com.
Welcome back to the Stevens Transport Roadside Radio Podcast. My name is Tim Cicerelli, otherwise known as Trucker Tim. If you wouldn't mind, when you hit your next stop, please follow or subscribe to this podcast from whichever podcast platform you're enjoying it from. We are everywhere. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible. If it's a platform with a podcast on it, we are there. And by following the podcast, you'll have a brand new episode waiting for you each and every week as soon as it's released. And if you wouldn't mind, please leave us a review. Tell us what you like about the show and what you'd like changed. We are producing this podcast for you to keep you educated, informed, and hopefully a little entertained as well. Time now for our driver's spotlight. We're going to pull some audio from a video that you can find on our Stevens Transport YouTube channel. We'll have a link in the episode notes to this video, and I'm excited about this one. This is a driver that's been on this podcast several times, and gosh, was one of the first drivers we ever interviewed way back in season 1. And selfishly, one of the reasons I really enjoy spotlighting this driver is because she is raising awareness for breast cancer. And I've mentioned a few times here on the podcast that my wife is battling breast cancer. So any form of awareness or support means a whole bunch to me, and I hope it does to you as well. Let's get to learn a little bit more about why they call her Pinky. This is our driver spotlight, Miss Nakia Matthews.
Hi, I'm Nakia Matthews, aka Pinky. I have been here at Stevens Transport for 5 years, and I am the proud owner of the 2022 Peterbilt that is pink for breast cancer awareness. I wanted the pink truck because my name was Pinky, but after just talking with management about one of our VPs who is a breast cancer survivor, I felt that it would be a pleasure to actually have a truck in the fleet that actually represent breast cancer awareness. Oh, it meant a lot to me, from the email saying that we had the green light. I started crying when I got that. And then hearing that we got it donated, I even cried even more. And then when that first wrap went on top of the truck, I was like, it's official. And I cried. And then just to see her completely done, and then just to hear the guys in the shop say, my wife, my mom has suffered from breast cancer, or they're going through it right now, it really has touched my heart. And it means a lot to me just to hear a lot of people tell me thank you. I came out of Freightliner 2019 and decided that I wanted a Peterbilt. And I came up with down payment, and they gave me this nice 22 Peterbilt. And they know I named my truck, so we was in the office. They asked me what her name was, and I just wrote out Miss Carissa. And me and Miss Carissa has been through a whole lot. We are 18. Me and her. Without her, there's nothing. To actually start a truck convoy for breast cancer, because when I looked about it, we didn't actually have one here in the U.S. We have a lot of other things that are going on for breast cancer awareness, but you have a lot of trucks out here that actually have the breast cancer awareness on it, but we don't have a truck convoy. And I want Stevens and myself to partner with Susan Coleman to actually start the truck convoy for them. OTR Diva is more or less what I experience while I'm on the road, my journey. That's what I go through, what I see. I talk a lot about Stevens, talk about the trucking industry, how I view it through my own eyes, and just basically just trying to give other people avenues, research, when they're researching about trucking companies or, they want to know something about Stevens. Just share a little bit more positive about Stevens and not a whole lot of negative. You can follow me on YouTube at OTR Diva. You can follow me on Instagram, OTR_Diva_, and as well as famous TikTok OTR Pinky.
Thank you, Pinky. Not only will we have a link in the episode notes to our Stevens Transport YouTube channel where you can find that video, we'll have all of Pinky's links in there for you as well. Time now to tip that big 10-gallon Stevens cap in recognition. Please join us in congratulating Dianca Petty on her well-earned promotion to Operations Manager of Comfort Zone. Dianca has been with Stevens for 7 years, starting as a driver manager in the contractor division before transitioning to Comfort Zone planning. For the past 4 years, she has been a key player in Comfort Zone as a 7-7 planner, where she has consistently demonstrated a solution-based mindset and an unwavering commitment to excellence. Handling the unique challenges of Comfort Zone with empathy, accountability, and efficiency, Dianca has proven herself time and time again. Now, Dianca runs the show on nights and on weekends, ensuring that operations run smoothly while taking on every challenge with grace and determination. Her drive to learn and master new aspects of the business make her an invaluable asset, and we have no doubt that she will thrive in her new role. So congratulations, Dianca. We look forward to seeing you continue to make a positive impact. All right, time now to find out about more of what's happening at Stevens Transport with our monthly news bulletin.
Welcome to Stevens Transport News Bulletin. We bring you the latest updates in the transportation industry. We have exciting news to share today. On February 17th, Kerry Jameson was welcomed to Stevens Transport as our new Vice President of Safety. Kerry brings with him over 2 decades of safety leadership. Most recently, he served as Senior Director of Safety for the Walmart Transportation Private Fleet, overseeing safety for a fleet of over 15,000 drivers and tractors and over 95,000 trailers. At Walmart, Kerry earned his recognition as a safety champion, leading efforts to promote a zero-accident culture and ensuring compliance with critical safety standards. He developed and implemented training programs, including the first-ever Walmart CDL school, designed to elevate career opportunities and build a pipeline of professional drivers for future private fleet growth, enhancing safety outcomes. A proud Texan, Kerry began his career in the oil fields of West Texas, where his passion for safety took root. He's eager to bring his extensive expertise to Stevens Transport, focusing on driving a safety-first culture across the organization. Outside of work, Kerry enjoys spending time with his family, wife Lisa of 25 years, and their 2 sons Dominic and Carmen. Scouting antiques, exploring local eateries and farmers markets, and traveling are some of the family favorites. We are thrilled to welcome Kerry to Stevens Transport and look forward to his leadership in advancing our safety initiatives. Let's move on. Stevens Transport is celebrating Richard Delgado's impressive 20-year career. Richard has worked in multiple roles across the company, from night operations to customer success to manager of both produce and protein teams. All have contributed to his invaluable experience and growth in leadership. Throughout his career, he has been passionate about mentoring others, especially management and training employees and college graduates, sharing his knowledge to help them succeed. One of his most rewarding experiences was working as an in-house customer success representative for Taylor Farms, where he saw the direct impact of Stevens' deliveries. Richard credits his mentors like Sam Frenny and Mike Ritchie for guiding his growth, and now passes on that mentorship to the next generation of leaders at Stevens. He's excited about the future, particularly with advancements in sustainability initiatives and smart trailers. Congratulations to Richard on 20 years of hard work and leadership. Shifting gears now to owner-operator and 3 Million Mile Hall of Famer Owen Smith. Owen has been with Stevens Transport since 1996 and earned his CDL from Stevens Driving Academy. Over his impressive 29-year career, he has driven more than 3.2 million accident-free miles, honored on multiple occasions as Owner-Operator of the Month, and most recently as the 2024 runner-up for Owner-Operator of the Year. Owen's business acumen has allowed him to build the largest private fleet contracted with Stevens Transport, and his dedication and accomplishments inspire other entrepreneurs daily, showcasing how rewarding the opportunities can be. Turning our attention now, Stevens Transport is incredibly proud to announce Gerald Roden has been named a 2024 Truckload Carriers Association Professional Driver of the Year. With an extraordinary 26-year career and 4.8 million collision-free miles, Gerald has become a true legend in the trucking industry. Known for his expertise, mentorship, and dedication, he's trained over 200 trainees and earned numerous accolades, including Trainer of the Year. Gerald's commitment to safety, excellence, and community service makes him more than deserving of such a prestigious award, and we are proud to have him as such an outstanding representative. Congratulations, Gerald. Stay informed and inspired by the stories that shape our industry. Thank you for joining us on this edition of Stevens Transport News.
How about we pump the brakes on episode 138 of the Stevens Transport Roadside Radio podcast? If you found this podcast because you're searching for a brand new career, please make sure you visit the episode notes. We will have phone numbers and every link possible for you to learn more about Stevens Transport and even schedule a call with one of our recruiters. All the information is in the episode notes. And like we said earlier, please follow or subscribe to this podcast from whichever platform you're enjoying it from and share it with one of your fellow drivers. We sure would appreciate it. And finally, my name is Tim Cicerelli, otherwise known as Trucker Tim. Thanks for joining me. And until next time, be safe out there. And thanks for listening to the Stevens Transport Roadside Radio Podcast.